Ambassador Lorenza will talk about in her remarks. Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, all dignitaries, all diplomats, all CEOs, all innovators, all Gen Zs, and we ensure we actually had some young people in the room at the back. Karibuni and welcome to this inaugural roundtable on what we're increasingly calling Techplomacy. This convening has been put together, of course, by the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, but also we've had some good friends who've been working with us through this journey. His Excellency Peter Madens, the ambassador at the Embassy of Belgium to Kenya. We have some CEOs, Charity from IBM. We have Angela Lungati from Ushahidi. I cannot see you, you can wave. And a couple of friends. So we've been trying as much as possible to make it multi-stakeholder. Friends, as you know, technology is impacting how we live, learn, and work, and collaborate. Technology in many ways has become almost the lifeblood of everything that we do. When you wake up, the first thing you look at is your phone. Some of you sleep with your Apple watches. And so we understand how technology has become ubiquitous. But in most cases, technology also is a tool for development. But we understand that if it's not nurtured in a way that develops prosperity for everybody, then we have a challenge. And there's potentially a danger if we are not necessarily abreast of it. And so today, the idea is very simple. That because technology impacts how we live, learn, and work, technology is very much in everything that we do, but also we see technology as an enabler for development to catalyze change and transformation. That also must be managed with its risks and challenges, but to drive collaboration. That technology could be a tool for invigorating multilateralism. And so the idea was to put us all together because you're ultimately in the Silicon Savannah, so that we can together move forward to see how technology benefits both your countries, your companies, but also the country, but also the people that we serve. And with that, let me quickly hand it over to our co-host for today, Ambassador Peter Madens, to make his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Philip. And thank you, colleagues. Good afternoon. Philip, thank you for your introduction, but much more importantly, thank you for this initiative and for creating the space where talk can become action by bringing everybody, literally everybody, together. You know, diplomats like to talk, but I think we want to make sure that today is about action. There's been a lot of discussion on the challenges and opportunities of emerging technologies. We know that adoption of these technologies will not be a walk in the park. So the sooner we get started, the better. And there's nothing sooner than today. The stakeholders are present today: the Kenyan government, the international community, the private sector, press, civil society. This actually shows the enthusiasm to work together and to roll up our sleeves. The digital future belongs to everyone, and our goal today, the goal of the Techplomacy Connective, is to ensure that this digital future is resilient, that it's safe, that it's inclusive and trustworthy, because in such an environment, technical innovation will thrive around the world. Tech is disruptive, and it's exhilarating. Humanity has already gone through this kind of process before. More information was circulating more rapidly when we invented writing or printing books. Those processes, books, telegraph, radio, TV, they changed us. The danger is that in our exhilaration, we forget societal fundamentals. We forget, or we must ensure, that emerging technologies are developed and deployed in ways that uphold human rights, inclusion, and sustainability. We need to strengthen digital trust because cybersecurity and data governance are not just technical issues. They're part and parcel of international relations and hence diplomatic imperatives. This initiative will empower nations to participate meaningfully in shaping the digital future. Engaging with the next generation of tech diplomats, innovators, and thinkers will ensure that this connective be dynamic and forward-looking. Identifying science, technology, and innovation diplomacy as one of the 8 focus areas of Kenya's foreign policy makes Kenya a strong partner in this ecosystem. We hear Kenyan voices loud and clear in the street, on the international stage, in the African group, in the G77, at the UN. We applaud the energy and enthusiasm of the Kenyan people and their government to build a stronger digital future. As Belgium, we're happy to be a determined partner of this Techplomacy Connective and its endeavors to create a global community. Our role as diplomats is to animate the international conversations about these topics in all rooms around the world, bilaterally and multilaterally, and use our position to shape inclusive, forward-looking, and ethically grounded digital policies. So yeah, diplomats talk. The Techplomacy Connective is a response, a space for dialogue, foresight, and shared responsibility. It represents a bold step towards a future where diplomacy and technology are not separate domains, but deeply intertwined to shape our global society. Let's get to work. Let's shape the future together. Thank you, Philip.
Hand of applause, please. Thank you so much, Ambassador Marians, and thank you so much for offering to collaborate with us. Kindly, if you can have the only online presentation today, if you can have him online, Dr. Mandeep Gill Singh, the UN Secretary General Special Envoy on Technology, to give his remarks. Thank you so much. Mandeep, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Phil. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to dial in from New York and support this work, this very, very important work. And I'm delighted to follow the Belgian ambassador. I had the pleasure of meeting Minister Vanessa Maats last week and learn about Belgium's digital transformation journey. In Brussels, they speak of the Brussels effect. And I think we must complement the Brussels effect by the Silicon Valley effect. In technology diplomacy, it's important to reinforce the focus globally on inclusion and on leveraging technology for development. And this is where Kenya's ecosystem, both the tech side and the diplomatic side, can be a game changer. And in the last few years, we've created the basis for a more inclusive approach to technology diplomacy, what we call digital cooperation. Member states, all 193 of them, came together at the Summit of the Future last year to adopt the Global Digital Compact, a new comprehensive framework for international cooperation on digital and emerging technologies that not only speaks to the enduring agenda of the World Summit on Information Society, whose 20th anniversary we celebrate today, and Kenya is again co-leading the facilitations on the review process. So the enduring agenda, WSIS, connectivity, content that is multilingual, multicultural, that reflects the diversity of our world, access to information, people-centered approaches to leveraging the information society for development, but also new areas that have emerged in the past few years very strongly: data, artificial intelligence, an inclusive digital economy, the role that digital public infrastructure can play in boosting demand, especially from underserved communities in important areas of government services, in accessing the financial ecosystem, loans, insurance, etc. So we have this comprehensive agenda. We have clear action lines. And as the Belgian ambassador was saying, we now need to prioritize action. And action is what is receiving an accent today through our work, for example, on AI governance. Phil, you were one of the 39 global experts that contributed to the work of the High-Level Advisory Body on AI of the Secretary General. Your 7 recommendations landed in time for the Global Digital Compact, and some critical decisions were taken. First ever decisions globally on governing AI for all of humanity. Currently, negotiations are underway on setting up of an international independent scientific panel so that scientists, AI practitioners, but also multidisciplinary experts around AI's impact from around the globe, including from Africa, can come together and present regular scientific assessments of what this technology is and what it means for all of us, for good or for bad. The twin sister of this scientific panel is an inclusive policy dialogue on artificial intelligence. 117 countries are not part of any of the leading initiatives on AI governance. We need to ensure that the AI futures rules are written by everyone. It's a basic question of democratic participation. So this policy dialogue will allow for different regions, different countries to share their approaches to AI governance, to learn from each other, and build this common future on the bedrock of UN's principles, norms, including human rights treaties and the Sustainable Development Goals and other commitments on gender, on environment, on sustainability. A third pillar of the way forward on AI is capacity building, or what the high-level advisory body called putting a floor under the AI divide. All of Africa has less than 1% of the world's data center capacity. Less than 1,000 GPUs are currently deployed in Africa. Of course, more is on the way, thanks also to the efforts of African entrepreneurs, but this is a massive deficit. It's not morally tenable. It's not practically tenable either, given that 1/3 of the global talent in a few years is going to be coming from Africa. Most of the interesting use cases are from Africa. So we need a massive effort to build AI capacity. And the Secretary General will present in September a report which follows up on the recommendation of the high-level advisory body on AI, including on a global fund on AI. And this report will present innovative options. And innovation is what we need in today's day and age when there are restrictions on development financing, when we have other geopolitical, geoeconomic challenges. So I hope the world will come together to endorse these recommendations, to take forward practical work on bridging the AI divide so that all of us can benefit from the power of AI, and also so that the risks of AI, including its impact on job markets, are not unfairly loaded onto some segments of the population. Technology diplomacy would be crucial to ensure that we have this human-centric, equitable tech future. And your initiative, therefore, is laudable. And I commend you on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amandeep, and convey our greetings to the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General, and thank him for his support for Kenya and the work that we've been doing around AI. Thank you so much, and I know you have to go. Thank you. You will notice that, as we say, and my colleagues tell me, we're in the spirit of agility, that because of what is happening in Nairobi, we'll try to make this program a little bit flexible. But for now, let me quickly invite, and really my pleasure to invite His Excellency, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Secretary and Cabinet Secretary of Foreign Affairs, to officially open the event before we go into, because I realize when I see Angela, that's really the substance of it. So let's get the meeting opened, then we can get into the meat of it. Thank you so much, Excellency.
I thought I was going to benefit from her contribution, but anyway, let me try and at least perform the ritual. So I'll make some short remarks formally. Then perhaps I can listen in on one or two interventions from you. Your Excellencies, distinguished co-conveners, ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound honor to welcome you to the inaugural Techplomacy Connective, an innovative multi-stakeholder forum dedicated to reinvigorating multilateralism through technology and diplomacy. On behalf of His Excellency President William Ruto and the Government of Kenya, I extend a warm welcome to all our esteemed partners, including diplomatic missions, international organizations, private sector innovators, and representatives of civil society. Your presence at this inaugural connective is deeply appreciated, especially at a time when rapid technological transformation is reshaping the way we live, learn, and work. Kenya's sessional paper number 1 of 2025 on the foreign policy of the Republic of Kenya underscores technology diplomacy as a key pillar of our international engagement and a strategic driver in our vision to transform Nairobi into a leading multilateral and financial hub. Kenya has long been at the forefront of digital governance and continues to lead in shaping how critical and emerging technologies are governed for the benefit of society. Notably, we championed the first ever UN resolution on artificial intelligence. We also serve the only African member of the International Network of AI Safety Institutes. Kenya remains actively engaged in the Global Digital Compact negotiations. Jointly, we have co-created various initiatives designed to strengthen our partnership, some of which include the following. 1, we recently co-created the current AI with France to advance public benefit of AI. We established the AI Hub for Sustainable Development with Italy and the European Union to enhance resilience for our infrastructure and startups. Jointly with the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, we formed the Sustainable AI Coalition to ensure technology supports rather than accelerates climate change. In partnership with the private sector, we are also advancing the establishment of the region's first ever AI factory in collaboration with the Cassava Technologies. And 5th, most recently, Kenya and Albania were appointed co-facilitators of the WSIS plus 20 review process. Your Excellencies, true leadership at global level must translate into local impact. Nairobi, which is a vibrant center of innovation and the heart of the Silicon Savannah, is home to over 98 embassies and high commissions, more than 148 international organizations. Notably, Kenya is proud to host the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and the UN Habitat, as well as the United Nations office at Nairobi, which is the only UN headquarters located in a developing country. In addition, Kenya is home to one of the largest World Bank country offices outside of Washington, D.C. As Sub-Saharan Africa's top-ranked and the world's 58th leading tech ecosystem, our Silicon Savannah is powered by over 300 startups, world-class incubators, and a thriving venture capital investment. This has positioned Kenya as a dynamic hub for multilateral engagement, digital transformation. We also host IBM, Microsoft, Google, Cisco, Oracle, and I think most of them are in this room. And we power our data centers with renewable energy. Your Excellencies, in this era of rapid technological acceleration, Nairobi's unique convergence of diplomatic missions, international non-governmental organizations, startups, multilateral institutions, and sustainable infrastructure offers an exceptional platform to reimagine multilateralism. The Techplomacy Connective seeks to harness this ecosystem to shape the norms, standards, and partnerships that ensure emerging technologies drive economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability for Kenya, Africa, and the world. Where there have been remarkable strides towards harnessing technology diplomacy, these efforts remain largely fragmented. This connective therefore presents a timely opportunity to align our initiatives and deliver greater value for Kenya and partner countries. The initiative positions Nairobi as a vibrant space for a global community of practice on our common agenda, a place to advance a common understanding on the risks, challenges and prospects of emerging technologies. Certainly, through open dialogue, scientific collaboration, and real-world use cases, we can forge common ground on how technology can help solve our most pressing challenges, spanning health, education, climate action, and public participation, just to mention a few. Ultimately, our shared goal is to ensure technology drives inclusive prosperity, generates real value for business, creates meaningful jobs, and accelerates progress toward the global sustainable development goals. As I conclude, I wish to extend special appreciation to our inaugural partners, and in particular His Excellency Peter Madens, Ambassador of Belgium, for his support. We are also pleased to welcome Dr. Kamen Masjin, a distinguished AI expert who will play a key role in shaping the agenda of the Techplomacy Connective. It is now my pleasure and honor to declare the Techplomacy Connective officially open. I look forward to our collaborative deliberations and to forging bold, forward-looking partnerships that will shape a trustworthy, inclusive, and sustainable digital future for all. So, thank you. That's, I think with that, I've done the rituals. But let me just maybe take 1 minute to say something. This morning I had the opportunity to join other participants from 53 African countries at the UN headquarters on the AMSEN. This is the meeting around environmental issues, the ministerial conference. And one of the speakers made a very interesting comment. He actually used several African proverbs. And I was particularly tickled by one, which was basically, if I may try to paraphrase, it was, if you have a head and you have a heart, then you place the heart on the head and not on the knee. So we must ask ourselves, could AI be a heart? And if we have it, where do we place it? On the head or on the knee? So basically, if AI is in the room, let's make sure we don't lose our heads. I will leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Again, hand of applause to His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who I will honestly say that helped us deliver. And I think Dan is here somewhere. The 3,000 GPUs that will come to Kenya for the AI factories. The only window we had was 2032. So because of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and of course the Chairman Strive Masiwia, at the margins of the Rwanda AI Summit, we were able to close that possibility. So at least Kenyans, you will have access to that AI capability. And as I said, so now that His Excellency has formally opened the program, we'll be very agile and flexible. So ground rules as always, Chatham House. And I will try to call in a few fire starters. And if you want to speak, raise your tent in that way, so we see you and will not it down. Are we all clear? Thank you so much. And because we've all been speaking, let me request our communication team to play one video done by an award-winning filmmaker who is in the room Lisa Russell, the first ever AI film created in the continent. She's an Emmy Award winning. Lisa, you can wave so they see you. So the talent is in Kenya. So please play the film. It's like 2 minutes, but I think it's useful. The film, not the slides. Thank you.
Just 50 years ago, ventured
No, that's not the
to
film.
the moon.
Thank you, I apologize. They honor the film there, so she knows her film. As always in a technology event, technology will always, and I see my colleagues from know this, there's always a failure of technology. I think if I cannot have it in the next 2 seconds, I know.
Excellencies, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I apologize in advance if my voice breaks or I cough. There's something in the Nairobi air. My name is Angela Odolungati. I'm a technologist and a community builder who is passionate about building and using appropriate technology tools to positively impact the lives of marginalized communities and especially on the African of Ushahidi, which is a global technology and data nonprofit that was born and has been largely built here in Kenya by a Kenyan team that has been helping people worldwide to surface community-generated data to influence and drive impact across various sectors in more than one. Most recently, we've also been leveraging AI to make it easier for people to make sense of the data that they are collecting and use that to drive impact. So we exist to make sure that people everywhere can easily gather data and then generate insights that will help them tackle issues that matter the most to them. We want decision makers to have insight and data that will help them better support communities that they are committed to serving, that people who are rarely heard or tend to be overlooked in different decision-making processes are able to share their lived experiences in ways that allow them to help each other, but also get the outcomes that they want. And most importantly, for community-generated data sets to serve as a resource to improve society. For more than 17 years, we have argued and proven that insights from ordinary citizens and their collective intelligence can help to provide a richer understanding of some of the world's most pressing problems. Our platform has been deployed more than 200,000 times in more than 160 countries. Crisis response by helping communities recover from disasters like earthquakes, floods, and even the COVID-19 crisis. It's really been a good tool to help humanitarian responders to engage directly with those who are affected and then drive better direct resources. It's also been really useful in helping to strengthen good governance by worldwide, including in Kenya, which is where we were born. It's been lauded in helping to increase voter turnout in many African elections, and we've worked collaboratively with local communities to promote free and fair elections, as well as build out a toolkit for how to leverage the tool to monitor elections. It's also been really good to surface human rights violations, so really using the human rights protection space. One of my favorite examples comes from Egypt. A group called HarassMap used our open source platform to document cases of sexual harassment against women, not just to create awareness about the issue, but also use that data to try and or change behavior, and also supported countries around the world, for example, Bangladesh, many other maps to replicate that model. And most recently, we've also been using it to promote climate justice by surfacing community feedback that tends to be overlooked to understand the drivers of the crisis and support climate adaptation efforts. For example, with support from our partners from JZ, the DTC team. We've been gathering feedback on energy consumption patterns, as well as the impact of the climate crisis on economic livelihoods in those communities. And the insights we've been able to surface have been very useful for the local government to implement policies that promote climate adaptation. Today, we're all here to talk about how to leverage technology to address critical challenges and seize new opportunities. And I'm very pleased from the previous remarks to note that there's a very key focus on ensuring that the technology is being used appropriately and to actually drive impact. Because sometimes as technologists, it's very easy for us to fall into the trap of assuming that we are everything, that technology is an absolute solution. And I always have to remind myself that it's not just about the technology. That's one of the most valuable lessons that I have learned from more than 17 years of Ushahidi being used around the world. Technology is not the thing that will change the world, it is how it is used. Even for us at Ushahidi, it's been about acknowledging, yes, that the open source platform has been valuable and useful, but it is how the people in those 160 countries have been using it and have adapted it to accelerate social impact that has been inspirational. So technology is something that we should look at as a means to an end rather than the end itself. But also remember that it is a very critical means to that end. And as we've heard, there are significant barriers and challenges that most of us in the room are looking to bridge, especially in this AI-driven future of ours, be that the data gaps, the infrastructure gaps, as well as talent. We all dream for a vibrant, sustainable, and technology-driven future for Kenya and for Africa. And we have to recognize that achieving that future is going to be a collaborative effort. In the same way that we came out of the COVID-19 crisis through collective action, achieving that digital-driven future is going to require collaboration. We are going to need to engage with local communities to understand what challenges they are facing and how best to adapt the technology tools we are building. We're going to need to work with civil society who have that experience and trust established and proximity with the communities we want to serve. We're going to have to work with academia to help surface and give us research that guides the development of solutions. We will need to work with the private sector that has a capacity and expertise to provide value-added services. We will need to work with the public sector to guide and inform policy development. We're also going to have to collaborate and cooperate globally and regionally and work with development partners to augment all the work that we are doing. I'm very pleased at the overwhelming recognition of the power of the technology in this room and hope that as part of this initiative, we will continue to center that vision that we have for Kenya and for the African continent, and that we'll find ways to collaborate together to achieve it. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Angela. And Angela is very modest. I think Ushahidi platform has been one of the premier platforms that have been leveraged on disaster response, from Hurricane Katrina to Haiti, to evacuations of citizens of countries, whether there's war-torn situations, to elections, to service delivery, built from Nairobi 500 meters, or I think a kilometer from here. So Ushahidi is run by Angela. She's the CEO of the company at a very young age, so that's the capability in Kenya, and therefore, thank you so much for being really at the core of the Techplomacy Initiative. Do we have Lisa's video? Yeah, play it. I'm curious to know what an AI video looks like.
Linking to remaining satellites. Power level stable. Audio armed. Visual muted. Estimated reach unknown. Signal integrity is holding. You're live in 3, 2, 1.
I don't know if anyone can hear this, but I have to say it anyway. To those orbiting your new homes, resettled in space, you left Earth. She is now depleted, drained. No life in the oceans. No breath in the mountains. No pulse in the soil. I stayed, not because I lost the fight, but because I loved what we could have become. 10 years ago, we stood at the edge of something new. A moment where AI and technology could have healed, preserved, cooled the burning sky. But you trained machines for profit, wired systems for war, chose speed over wisdom, control over care. I'm not here to blame you. Earth will survive. She always has. But what we lost was the story we could have written together. Of balance, of beauty, of intelligence with empathy. If this is the last message carried through static and starlight, let it be this. You can build 1,000 new worlds, but none will feel like home. We didn't need more code. We needed more conscience, more courage, more care. So if you're still watching, remember this planet not as a failure, but as your first teacher. She gave you breath. She gave you time. This is the last broadcast from Earth. Not a warning, not a plea, a memory. Carry her forward, and this time, do better.
Lisa, in 2 minutes, if you can explain to us the film.
Okay, greetings. And thank you, Ambassador. You really are just such a champion for the work that I'm doing here. My name is Lisa Russell. I'm an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker. I just returned from AI for Good, where I premiered this film. And I'd like to start with sharing just a quote. It's from the poet Khalil Gibran that says, "Our greatest human need next to hunger and thirst is for storytelling." And I think my message is that in addition to the advancements in robotics and data science and a lot of the technological advances, we have to ensure that we retain the soul through storytelling, through art, through creativity. I am a new Women in AI ambassador based in Mombasa. I would be honored to really talk with you and ensure that the voices of creatives, of artists, of storytellers are included in the development of techplomacy. And so I just want to, again, thank everybody, and thank you, Ambassador, for the opportunity to speak. This is a big deal for me, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You forgot. You forgot to tell people that the film is made purely by AI.
Oh, yes, yes. The film is entirely the voice, the character, the script, the music, everything except for the title that says Last Broadcast from Earth is AI generated.
So you know. And you can see the quality of it, right? And of course, there's conversations around ethics where the data is being generated. So I think that's why we have this forum, to the extent that as we go into the future, is AI taking jobs from filmmakers, or is it enhancing filmmakers' jobs? And so hopefully Lisa will lead the creative economy track, and we have a lot of folks who are really interested in that part, especially where we are safeguarding African culture and African artifacts, so that when you are running our models and picking voices, because it's generative, the voice is not original. So are people being compensated when AI is taking your voice and turning your voice into something else? Or that image is cumulative of 100 images. So that lady, for example, right? So it's a collage of things. So I think it'll be interesting as we move forward in this conversation.
Can I just say one more thing, because I forgot to mention? So I built an AI art and storytelling platform called artsenvoy.ai, and I'm partnering with Posh IT based here in Kenya, and we are piloting right now AI art and filmmaking workshops for young people and artists to upskill them in AI literacy, et cetera. So if anybody's interested in learning AI filmmaking or has anything of interest in that, please come talk to me or Oscar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you so much, Lisa, and for the amazing work you're doing and for putting Kenya on the map. So you can see Kenya is very diverse. And she's an award-winning, Emmy-winning filmmaker. So hopefully we can put that collaborative together. I want to use just 2 or 3 slides because I think this techplomacy thing, people are trying to understand what is it. technoplomacy, whatever it is. Can I get the clicker or something? Yeah. So I think, just quickly, ideally, we've been having a lot of conversations, whether it's the first, second, or third or fourth industrial revolution. What we cannot argue, and from the context of what Angela has mentioned in the last 17 years and the evolution of crowdsourcing and open source, and now leveraging AI, to what Lisa and her film have shown around AI being able to create film, is that for sure, the film itself, even though it's AI generated, he's talking about these 3 or 4 major shifts, right? So the film, as you've seen, quietly reminds us that we have one home, that we cannot build technologies and not be conscious around climate. And to His Excellency's speech, that was very clear, that technological advancements should not be creating harms to society. Of course, we cannot forget that the world is very young. Kenya especially is very young. So interesting enough is we have a row there, I don't know why they like to sit at the back, with the median age of 20, who have interesting behaviors around technology, working from 11 to 3 a.m. I have colleagues who send me WhatsApp messages. It's just them, so you can see the row at the back. And then, of course, there's technology itself, where there's AI, quantum, and the rest. And, of course, there's geopolitics. That technology in itself is becoming a geopolitical issue. And we know now that technology is changing very quickly, but we see the strain it's causing around, whether it's diplomacy, whether it's energy resource and scarcity, whether it's the green minerals, whether it's conflicts. But the one thing we always, and all of us face, notions around new threats like cybersecurity. And so I think we cannot not accept that we live in a global village, that the world is very small, that any impact in any part of our society or the world affects everywhere else. COVID-19 reminded us that the world is so small that what could have been possibly a health issue became a global challenge around mobility. And we're glad to have Honorable Nakumicha, who was a former Minister for Health, but now an ambassador at UN Habitat. So we recognize you, Balozi, and thank you so much for coming. And of course, the centrality of cities and human settlements. But again, this new behavior issue, but then the demography, but I think the technology and this vastness of it. As we know, the world now is more connected. I think 70% of the world is on the internet. Kenya is a little bit peculiar. And so Techplomacy for us is really a diplomatic approach where all of us can come together to ensure that we advance those aspects of technology that benefit society, while at the same time have a more collaborative governance that does not stifle innovation. So it doesn't mean we forget safety, security, ethics, but to the extent that we recognize technology as an enabler, but then that requires, as His Excellency had mentioned, is it a question of the head or the knee? So I think those choices we really have to make quite consciously. And I know many of your countries are here, and we know, interesting enough, and the reason why this initiative is especially important for us is if your eyes work well and if you see the screens in front of you, I want you to look at the Eastern Africa region compared to the global averages. You can see the challenge. That we are still the least connected region in the world at 28.5% as a region. Kenya is about 42%, which pushes that average, which tells you when we see these technological advancements that are now even building films, how do we ensure that our populations are not left behind? But as I said, Kenya is interesting in a way that we have about 27 million, internet users, and about 15 million social media and active users. But what is interesting, and this is why, again, this initiative is important, is what are we doing with the internet? Kenya's global average, and my colleague ambassador will tell you this, is that the global average of social media use per day is 2 hours and 21 minutes. Global average. Kenya tops the daily time spent on social media at 4 hours and 13 minutes. Let that sink in. 4 hours and 13 minutes is what my younger colleagues spend online. So again, the heart or the knee, right? So is it about more connectivity? Is it about productivity? So that's why Kenya becomes, as I said, an interesting thing. And it's no surprise that, again, if you look at the global average of misinformation, right, is 58% worry. The number one country that worries about misinformation, again, is Kenya. And so you can imagine why this increasingly becomes very important for this initiative, because this is the global lab. That if we are number one in this, how can we then convert how we use technology into provenance so that we can move our young people from using these gadgets for staying in touch, filling spare time, to more productivity. And so I think this becomes a global challenge. Again, why is techplomacy very important is, as you see, almost 10 or 20 or 30 times more than our GDP. And so we can not avoid talking and working with companies as if you are working with countries. And so the traditional model of governance and engagement must change from that one, that of a vendor-client relationship, to a more collaborative approach, also because of the responsibility that these companies must start to bear because of the platforms and the potential implications they can have on our democracy, or democratic principles. And so if you see, and as you said, there's no doubt that companies now are becoming bigger and more influential than member states. Apple, as you see, is 2.7 trillion. NVIDIA just passed the 4 trillion mark, if I'm not wrong, this week, Tony, right? So it's the first company that has done that. When countries' GDPs are shrinking, tech companies' valuations are increasing. So there's definitely the place for technology diplomacy, and we know it unfolds in a couple of ways, right? So there's, of course, the historical influence of technology with the internet revolution, but now we've seen the era of social media, which is why I think social media becomes important, because it bypasses traditional media, and there's a lot of issues around fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. But beyond the larger influence, and I like to draw you to the second paragraph, is as diplomats we are challenged by new topics that we did not have before. From e-commerce, cybersecurity, data, AI governance, quantum, blockchain, crypto, 50 we counted as early as this year. And so it becomes important for us to build capacity and capability so that we can be able to negotiate in a way that we govern responsibly these new challenges. And so with this rapid pace of change, we also must be careful around inequalities. That, of course, the risks of jobs, the challenge to organization capacity and capability, the constant disruption and constant geopolitical change, but also what we're increasingly seeing as a very fast-moving multilateral system. The tools that we have, unfortunately, are not at par with the shifts. And so for us, this initiative is also to help us all build capacity collectively, because as His Excellency says, it's good to play global leadership, but you need local implementation. And to your point, Ambassador, that we can talk all we want, but that transformation has to be grounded with real initiatives and real collaboration. And as I say, the gap that we have, as much as we are AI and these nice tools, there's still a majority of our population that does not have access to anything. Digital divide and all that still exists. So the 28%, there must be something that we think about. As Amandeep mentioned, even at the global level, even countries themselves are not part of the entire AI governance systems internationally. Only 7 are, but more than 119 are not, and especially the African countries. So how do we as Kenya, based on our leverage around the Silicon Savannah, work collaboratively with the ecosystem in Nairobi, especially because of the 2 headquarters where there's UNEP or Habitat, to ensure that we become more inclusive? Because the issue really is, if we don't do that, this is what we see, that there's a crisis of trust. And because of crisis of trust, we see a crisis of grievance. Because those young colleagues of mine or young friends of mine, if we do not ensure that technology delivers in jobs, in creating opportunity, then we continue to see the crisis of governance, not just locally, but also international multilateral system. And it is not surprise that the 5 risks that we have this year, according to the World Economic Forum, number 1 is misinformation and disinformation. Previously, it would have been something else. But even the 5 top ones have an element of technology, whether it's extreme weather events, whether it's state armed conflicts, whether it's polarization, or whether it's cyber and warfare. And I always like to bring this, is that no one is immune. That image, as you know, of the late Pope was built, 20 million viewers went in as fact, pulled down 3 days later, but the Pope had no audience to say that was not me. And so that is a challenge we have in this particular age, right? So I think quickly, the imagined path, and this is a point that you need to know, is 90% of the data we have today was generated 2 years ago. So today is already late, but it's a start. That as data grows exponentially, that we are all part of ensuring that we understand the complexity. Because the complexity of today kind of challenges the rules-based system that must be adaptive, non-linear, inclusive, and collaborative. And so few countries have designated envoys or ambassadors. That's 21. I see Germany here, and a couple of countries like Sweden, Denmark, all of that. So dedicated envoys. His Excellency the President, in his wisdom, appointed one envoy for Kenya. So Kenya, as you see, is the only African country. So hopefully we will not be alone for long. And many of you will consider to get a couple of envoys, because technology has become a really tool for diplomacy. In that also, we need smart institutions and how they're responsive. We need to break silos. We need to skill our diplomats. We need to increasingly work together to deliver at the global level to ensure multilateralism works. We need to ensure that we continue, in Amandip's words, that the Global Digital Compact delivers for everybody, including companies. We need to strengthen our diplomatic core around negotiations. And finally, we need to build capability and safety, but also support our sovereigns around initiatives that drive a common understanding, whether it's fluency or knowledge, whether it's multi-stakeholder dialogue, whether it's a benefits to society, whether we advance on a common purpose, but even at the same time accelerate towards the SDGs, which, as you know, will be 5 months out. And so I think with that, let me end there with saying, ultimately, honestly, it's not about technology. It's about trust. Without fact, we cannot have truth. Without truth, we cannot have trust. And honestly, without trust, we can't have a shared reality. And so hopefully, this collaborative, connective, will ensure that we have a shared reality. And let me end with that. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I've created... We'll share the slides. Yes. With that, let me invite His Excellency. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So His Excellency would want to leave for now. They seem like they don't want you to go. It seems like they don't want you to go. But for now, please, His Excellency is leaving. Please don't disappear. Okay. In terms of Tuaje Tabo, can I have... I'm moving to the big seat, my apologies. We will continue. I'm sure my colleagues will come back. Quickly, Germany.
Ambassador Figo, thank you very much, and congratulations on this